First principles, not second principles. Terrible joke. Determine f dash x. I know some of you say f prime x. I learned f dash x when I was in school. From first principles, if it is given, f of x is equal to x squared minus 5. So this is a formula that is coming straight out of your formula sheet. I am going to write it down. And we need to plug in values and simplify. So these are the steps that we are going to take. We need to get the numerator first, and this is how we do it. So once more, we need to calculate f of x plus h. And this is how we do it. So we have x squared minus 5 here. We just add an h quickly. So x plus h. We add the h to the x in the same bracket, and we square all of it together, minus 5. And remember, this is the bracket squared. So in other words, there's two brackets here. So just like a side note, x plus h in the first bracket and x plus h in the second bracket. As well, x times x is equal to x squared. So sorry, x times x is equal to x squared. X times h is equal to xh. H times x again is equal to xh. And h times h is equal to h squared. Okay, and that is simply going to be x squared plus xh plus xh is equal to 2xh plus h squared. And we can just sub that right back in. So a lot of writing here. My hand is on fire. But anything for you, and minus 5. Okay, now that is sorted. But what about this minus f of x? So let's just do it in one big calculation before we plug it into the big question. So f of x plus h minus f of x is equal to all this good stuff here. And now we simplify it. So this negative is going to wreak havoc inside the brackets. This is going to become, well, from a positive x squared to negative x squared, and this negative 5 to positive 5. Okay, we add and subtract like terms, and eventually we will end up with 2xh plus h squared. So how exactly did we get there? X squared. Are there any other x squareds? Yes, there is. So x squared minus x squared, they both cancel each other out. It's 0. 2xh, there's no other xh here, so we can simply plug it in. H squared, there's no other h squared, we just plug it in. And minus 5, this negative, when distributed inside the bracket, would create a plus 5. So minus 5 plus 5 is equal to 0. So these are our only remaining terms. Okay, and now we can sub it back into the big question. So please take this down, take a screenshot, pause the video, make sure you understand what's going on. I am going to clean the screen now with a bit of sunlight. I usually clean it with Jik, but these days sunlight is working better. Okay, so into our big formula, we're just subbing in values now. Okay, so there's our limit, don't forget, and the h with an arrow to 0, it means it tends to 0. We can sub in our f of x plus h minus f of x value, and that was 2xh plus h squared over h. Okay, and remember, we keep our limit right until we sub in our 0 into the equation. Why can't we sub in 0 immediately? Well, if we sub in 0, our denominator would be 0, and anything divided by 0 is undefined. So we just hold the limit, we hold the limit, we hold it until we remove the denominator. But how do we do that? Well, we got to take out a common h at the top. So what's left in the bracket? 2x plus h over h, and now we can cancel. And once we've removed that denominator, now we can sub in our 0. So again, just one last time, and we're just showing that yes, our h's are canceling, and we have 2x plus h in brackets, and then we sub in our 0, and only after that substitution can we drop the limit. And we're going to have 2x plus 0. Final answer is just going to be 2x. Look, that step isn't necessary, but just for completeness purposes, I plugged it in. Now, guys, if you're a bit unsure of your answer, you're a bit skeptical, remember, if you have an h in your final answer, you've made a mistake. Go back, recheck it. Also, if you just want to double check your answer, do the short method. So that invisible one that's here, 1 times 2 is equal to 2. 2 minus 1 is just 1, so it's just going to be 2x to the power of 1. We don't need to show it. And the derivative of any constant is just 0. So do the short method to check if your long method is correct.